Hi everyone, this is Makai Costin with the Athlete Section. Today we have a special guest who is committed to run track for the University of Alabama next fall. Now let her introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Taylor Gullatte. I'm a senior at Woodward Academy. I'm a 1 and 200-meter runner, and I will be going to the University of Alabama in the fall. I've been running track since I was 10 years old, and that's mine. That's a little bit about me.
Nice. Along with those two being her main events, she has a PR of 11:56 in the 100 and 23:70 in the 200. And she is the first high school we have today on this podcast who's committed to university. So I'm excited to talk about your accomplishments and your whole story leading to college next fall.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. So let's start with the beginning. You said you started since you were 10. So tell me about the journey of you participating in track and field. What was it that kind of led you to that sport and sparked that interest to continue with it?
Yeah, so from a young age, my parents, well, they always seen that I was fast. So I was a gymnast at first, and then I moved to cheerleading, and now I'm doing track. So full-time track athlete. I was doing long jump when I first started, but I stopped that to focus on sprints. So I'm a sprinter. And, it's just something that I love. So I have a passion for it. And it's just something that I just do. And I just don't stop and I grind and I do the extra. So it's something that I really do enjoy.
Nice. With gymnastics and cheer, and then also doing long jumps, did you see any of those skills kind of overlap that kind of translated to track, or did you kind of feel like they each had their own individual specialty?
Yeah, I feel like they have their own individual specialty. I know some of like the pole vaulters that are on our team, they do some gymnastics and it helps them with pole vaulting, but it's never helped me with anything. I think when I did do gymnastics, I was a little bit more flexible, but I still work on flexibility. So I think that's the main thing. But I think none of it goes together with anything that I do on the track.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool though, getting a chance to participate in all sports. I feel like all the athletes I had on here have all like had their hand in some other sports before they got to their main sport. And it's nice to kind of like compare and contrast and kind of see like the different skills you have in each one. So that's pretty, especially gymnastics. Like you said, you have to be very flexible at a young age to start out with that. So that's pretty cool. So you've had quite a journey touring different schools and college visits to finally choose University of Alabama. Tell me about that first letter that you got that you remember kind of realized like, okay, I'm going to be touring this school. I'm going to be, this is my journey is starting now. And then your mindset going through each school that ultimately led to your decision.
Yeah, just going into the schools, I already knew what I wanted. I wanted something that felt like home, where I was wanted and needed as an athlete, student athlete. And I just wanted a school that supported me as a student and the athlete because you can't be an athlete without being a student. So I know University of Alabama was that choice for me. Other visits that I went on, they were really right up there with Alabama, but Alabama just showed me something that I've never seen before when it came to my visits. So they just really did a great job of just welcoming me and making me feel like that would be the best choice for me in the fall. So
Yeah. Did you have University of Alabama as something that you were kind of looking into before you went? Maybe like a year or so before. Was that something that you was kind of like, that might be a school that may be a strong contender for me? Or did it kind of just happen when you got there?
yeah, I thought about it a little bit, but not to the point where I was like, okay, I see myself at the school. But once I went on that visit, talked with the coaches before going on the visit, and still talking to them now, I know that's the best choice for me.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. That's really neat. University of Alabama, even though that's my alma mater's rival school, um, it is definitely a special place. Legends are made, they say, and I'm very proud that you're getting to go there and just write your own legacy. So that's exciting. Do you, what is something that you feel like one key thing that you kind of wanted to see within these schools that you feel like every high schooler who goes on college visits should kind of seek out when they're going to these different schools?
Seek out. I mean, for me, the main thing that I did, I asked questions because you want to know what you're going to be getting when you get there. I asked questions. I stayed engaged with everything that was going on, so I would know if this was going to be the right choice or not for me. I talked it with my parents. That was the main thing. Just having that dialogue with your parents throughout the whole thing because they will be there for you. They'll help you and guide you throughout the whole process. and just keeping in touch with the coaches, keeping a good relationship, even if you don't pick that school, just keeping a good relationship between the coaches, and your head coach too. So that was the main thing for me.
I like how you touched on keeping a good relationship and rapport with your coaches and just the people at the schools, even if you don't go to that school ultimately. Because like you said, like you don't want to burn bridges and keeping those connections are very important. You never know how they can help you further down in life or like who they can connect you to. So I think that's very good, especially at a young age to kind of keep in mind as well. So what were some qualities in the schools that you and your parents kind of like were on the same page with? Did you guys have like a checklist that we both were looking at for each other? Did you guys have like a, okay, I'll let you know what I feel like after this? Like, how was that conversation?
So the main thing, yes, we did have a checklist. With the student athletes that are at the school and are going to still be at the school, they helped me in practice to better me as an athlete. I wanted to be in the SEC. That was one of the main goals. Even if I didn't end up in the SEC, I would still be happy with where I was at. But SEC was the main thing for me. Having a coach that would be there for me, to help me and guide me and be a good coach for me, and I like at some point see me. Um, Make my goal to become like a NCAA champion. And, and just those were the main points that we had. A good dorm was a smaller thing, but that was another thing. So those were the main things that we had on our checklist.
Yeah, especially the dorm part. It's very important. I feel like, you just want to be comfortable when you're at someone's campus, especially going off by yourself for the first time. It's nice just to have that nice support system, but then also a nice like facility, nice place to live in. So that's good that you guys are able to compare and contrast and finally come to that conclusion.
Hmm.
Besides track and the team, what are some things that you're looking forward to being down there?
Um, the main thing that I would say, the team is very good. Like even the cross country girls welcome me. The boys from the cross country team, track and field. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm the sprinter, but the jumpers were welcoming me. The throwers, just the whole team in general. Even other sports too. But the main thing I would say the pre med, because I'm going on the pre med track, and some of the girls that were on the team and not on the team, they were just there like, we can help you connect with people that we know. So just knowing I have those connections and that support system down there is the main thing for me.
Yeah, that's definitely very important. Pre-med is no joke. So I took my hats off to you because I started off doing biology pre-med and yeah, that I'm not anymore. But I really do commend the people who are able to do it and just kind of like find a joy in that, but also just finding a great program that supports you and then people around you who may not even, I don't know, who, like you said, in different teams and different, societies able to still like welcome you in and just offer you that help and stability is really great, especially just going in there just to know that you have that system there. It's very important. So you mentioned that you wanted to go into pre med. What sparked that interest and why pre med?
It was something that I was always interested in. I know that biology is a big part of it, and I just know that I was always good at science growing up. So just knowing that I could go in there, do the hard work that I normally do on the track and in the classroom, and just apply that to that pre med track, I think that I would be pretty good at it. So, and I like someday that I want to be an orthodontist. So I know that pre med will be there for me, and it will help me and guide me to become that someday.
That'd be pretty cool. Did it have a pre med program versus pre dental, or is it all just under the pre med umbrella?
Yeah, it's all under the pre med umbrella. You do a lot of lab, classes that you take, certain classes. So it's all under that pre med umbrella.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So, along with your journey, going to different schools and touring them and just leading you to where you are now, what were some obstacles in high school or even throughout your journey that you had to overcome in order to get to where you are now, in order to teach you life lessons that kind of translated on the track?
Life lessons. I mean, a lot of life lessons that I had, the main ones just work hard, even what others are doing, you should do more than that when it comes to on the track and off the track. But the main thing for me is injuries. I would have minor injuries, but I know like when I was injured, I would always tell myself you have the goal that your junior year you want to be going on visit. Well, your senior year you want to be going on visits, and you want to have coaches able to be talking to you, have options. So my main thing that what I was telling myself is you want to have options. That was the main thing for me was my injuries. They helped me a lot. So that was the main thing.
Wow. What was it that how do you find that self motivation to continue to push on? I feel like with everything, we can't just look for motivation outside of ourselves because, not everyone, like you said, is going to tell us to keep going forward or keep pushing on. Like our parents are there, which is great. But what was it that kind of like clicked in your mind for you to tell yourself, I need to do this, I need to push on?
Yeah. The main thing was when I get a scholarship, which now I have, I'm gonna have girls that are gonna be able to push me. I still have a season to finish. So the season's not over with, the job's not done. So I still have to keep working. I have indoor season coming up. January 5th is my first meet and then possibly going to New Balance. So I keep telling myself, you were able to receive a scholarship and it could possibly be taken away. So you have to work because there's going to be girls that are going to be in the freshman class with you that are going to work hard. So you have to work harder. So that's the main thing that I'm telling myself.
Yeah. And I think that's a great life advice as well. I feel like no matter what status we get or promotion or opportunity that we get, just because you're there doesn't mean you're always going to be there. And there's always going to be someone who's working harder, pushing, further than you. So I feel like just not being complacent and knowing that I need to keep going and keep striving harder, enjoying where I am, not, forgoing or forsaking what I'm doing, but also just knowing that there's better out there now. I can just keep doing better. And people, like you said, are watching me and looking up to me. So that's a very good quality to have and a great concept to have in mind as well.
For
What do you think are your biggest, or what would you say is your one biggest life accomplishment and why?
I would say me receiving the scholarship, of course. But I would say the main thing, on the track, I was very like excited when I won the Adidas Nationals last year in 11:56. That was one big accomplishment for me because coming into the season I was injured and I was having self-doubt. I was telling myself I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it to a national championship this year. I didn't see myself at all. I wasn't even imagining that at the time. So me coming through, winning the national Adidas Nationals and PRing at that meet, that was big for me. And I would say state, placing at state because also I didn't see myself at state either, placing
Mhm.
or making it. So those were two big things for me this season.
For people who also go through injuries and then look at these big events and are like, I just can't see myself there. What I know you mentioned, just knowing that, you have a scholarship in mind, you have schools in mind, you have a further destination in mind. But what else is it that kind of like you have to really remember and really strive for in order to actually see yourself in those events and compete in PR like you did?
I would say there's always light at the end of the tunnel. You're gonna make it to that goal that you have, no matter how you're feeling at that moment. You know, you have time. I would say just trust in the Lord and all that He has for you. Trust in His plan because even though it might be your plan, that might not be His plan for you.
That's a good point you made because, and I feel like it's a daily reminder. And all the athletes I talk to have all like mentioned that point in some way, shape, or form where there will be a plan that you have in mind. Us as people here on this earth, we have a mind, we have a plan, we have goals, but God may have something way bigger than we can imagine. And we just want it to go our way because we already have it all planned out. But it's we just kind of like see that, like you said, there's light at the end of the tunnel and there's a bigger plan in mind, a bigger purpose that you're living for. That is a really great thing to keep in mind because you just never know how far you can go with that. Speaking of which, on your Instagram bio, you have Proverbs 3, 5 through 6 as your verse. And I also have that on my bio. That became my favorite verse starting earlier this year. And it's just saying, trusting in the Lord with all your heart. and not to lean on your own understanding and acknowledge his ways to direct their path. What personally does that verse resonate with in your life, and why did you choose that verse as your bio?
As an athlete or as a person in general, I would say that's important because for me, I will always be like, this is how I want it to be. This is, I think that I could do it like this, but that's not how the Lord wants it. I will always say, I don't see myself doing this, but He always made a way. So I would say those are the main things for me. Those are the main points.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of things, and my parents have been pushing it for me as well, growing up, or even like past like high school. My parents have always seen bigger for me than I imagined, and I'll just be like, "No, I'm fine where I am. I'm fine with this. I'm fine with that." And they're like, "Makai, you can strive for so much bigger and so much better." And at the time, I wouldn't see myself in those positions or opportunities, but then years later, in those opportunities, I'm like, wow, I would have never seen myself in this position years ago. So yeah, just seeing what God can do in your life as time goes on and just trusting in him throughout the process and not doubting his ways and word is definitely very essential, especially as an athlete. I know there's a lot of things that happen. It comes with the sport, injuries, you know, adversities, things like that. And just knowing that God is with you throughout the whole process is very reassuring to keep pushing forward. So I like that you brought that up. So track itself is an individual sport minus the relays. Um, but with that, you also have to learn to work as a team and develop leadership throughout your journey. What are some ways you're able to balance that, and what have you learned through that process?
I learned that in practice, I'm not practicing by myself. I have my team there to practice with me. So I have people pushing me in practice, even though I might get on the track by myself and run my individual race. I still have those people in practice pushing me. So I learned that even though people might say it's an individual sport, without the team, you're not going to be able to perform.
Mm, that's true. What leadership qualities do you think you possess that you want people to look up to on your team, or people who are not on the team but are still looking at you and being like, wow, she's my role model?
hmm One thing that I say, I have leadership. Lead the team. I mean, when it comes to the drills, anything that we're doing, I'm encouraging, always encouraging them to keep going, don't stop. So I would say those are the two things: leadership and encouragement.
Yeah. Leadership is definitely important with encouragement. They both go hand in hand. I feel like if you're having someone who's like a tyrant and just coming in, just telling you what you're doing bad and what you need to work on, no one's gonna want to listen to that. Like we're not gonna respect what you're saying if you can't also balance it out with the good and encouragement as well. Like not everybody's doing bad all the time. Like there's always something that people can work on, of course, but just kind of balancing both of them out and just making them coincide is very important when it comes to leadership on teams and just in life and projects in general. So that's a good quality. Um, do you have a favorite experience or favorite story you've had on Woodward so far?
Um, I would say, ever since I came to Woodward, I knew some girls coming in, but ever since I got there, I always felt like a family. The girls there always hang out outside of. It doesn't just stop at the track or at school. We always hang out outside of practice or anything that we have going on track related. But the main thing, oh, our Myrtle Beach trip. We went to Myrtle Beach last year for a track and we just hung out. We were in the hotel, hanging out, even at the track, just warming up together. Going to this one Italian restaurant that we went to was really fun. So
Ooh,
the Myrtle Beach trip was very fun.
that's really nice. Was that your first time going to Myrtle Beach, or have you been there
Yeah, it
before?
was my first time.
Okay, Myrtle Beach is. I haven't been there in years. I was like really young when I went, but it is really beautiful. So just to have that experience with friends, especially that being your first time, I bet that was really special.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you transferred into Woodward. I also transferred to like different high schools back when I was in high school and had to learn to readapt and learn to make new friends or just kind of like adapt to my surroundings, but also stay true to who I am and just kind of find myself in that new environment. How are you able to do that and gain these friendships, gain this leadership on the team, and be an athlete, all this stuff in one? How are you able to just go through that journey of adaptability and also just enjoying your experience?
I would say, like I said, feels like home. I already knew Coach Davis a little bit before going in, and Coach David, I've been knowing him for a while. So, well, and also some of the girls raced against them. So, going into Woodward, it was basically it was very seamless transition. I mean, there was nothing much that I had to change. I was just welcomed as I was, and that was something that I really appreciated.
Yeah, that's really important just to like have people, like you said, people there you already kind of have a feel for, kind of know a little bit. And then once you are fully in there and they're actually like accepting you and just welcoming you with open arms, that's a very fun and loving feeling to have. So that's great. And then are you planning on visiting the school at any point after you come back from college, or you kind of feel like, yeah, I'm good?
Yeah, Woodward, I know a lot of alumni. They're very involved with everything that's going on. So I'll be back, even if we're on break. Might go there to practice, go talk to the coaches, see them, just visit. So I will be back, of course.
That's good. That's really nice. How do you think track has shaped your identity as a person, and why?
Well, with track, that hard work is a really big factor. And I know that even outside of track, in the classroom, everything I do, hard work. I know that you have to for this sport it takes a lot of extra hours, it doesn't just the 2 hour practices that you have in the afternoon or some of the practices that you do in the morning sometimes. The weekends you have to work, coming in the mornings early, 6 o'clock you have to work, so the work doesn't just stop or end at practice, but you have to do the extra. So that's one big thing that I've learned. Doing the extra is really big and important.
Yeah, definitely going above and beyond, taking initiative. That stuff really translates into your life outside of the sport as well. So I that's what I really like about sports, that it can really teach life lessons. Like whatever, as long as you're putting in the work, like you said, putting in the work, working hard and willing to learn and be teachable, I feel like it teaches a lot of skills that can be essential when it comes to getting jobs or going to classes or just adapting to new environments or friends. Like it really does shape people in that type of way, if they let it. So what are some things that you enjoy outside of track that kind of can get your mind off of it from a little bit and just relax?
Mhm. I would say, I do a lot of practicing, but even outside of practice, hanging out with friends, spending time with my family. Sometimes I do a little bowling, so I'll
Okay.
put that in sometimes. But going to the movies, sleepovers, sometimes with some of the girls. And, just enjoying senior year. Even before that, I was still doing some of those things, but senior year, won't be here for long. So just spending this time to enjoy it.
Yeah. Would you say senior year was your favorite year in high school so far?
It's just, I mean, we're ending the first semester right now, and it's been pretty good, but I would say my junior year last year was probably one of my best years, going to Woodward, getting
Yeah,
experience. So going into Woodward, I think 11th grade was probably one of my best years.
that's nice. So, what are some things that people would normally not know about you unless they really got to know you?
I would say a lot of people don't know that that I did gymnastics and cheer before running track, and not a lot of people know that I did long jump either. But
Mm.
the main thing I would say probably gymnastics or cheer. A lot of people don't.
Do you ever kind of wish you stuck with gymnastics, or do you think it had its time? But I'm glad I'm doing track.
Yeah, I think it had its time. I mean, it was something that I did, just growing up. I just got into the sport a little bit, but I think track has really been something that I do love and enjoy. And I think it outweighs gymnastics.
Okay. where do you see the sport of track and field going to in the future as you're in there and accomplishing your goals? People knew track as one thing we just watched during the Olympics, and now it's became this really great thing. There's more leagues popping up, there's more coverage being shown on TV. Where do you see it going to, and then where do you hope it goes?
hmm So right now, the athletes, the current athletes, high school athletes, even some middle school athletes, I see a lot of good competitive and hardworking athletes. The competition is getting really stiff. I feel like that is going to be on the rise. The athletes that are there in the Olympics right now, someday they'll retire. They won't be running track anymore. But the athletes that are coming and up next, I feel like it's going to really be more competitive sport. Still going to be streaming and everything. So I think that is going to have a lot more exposure.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, the top three, I guess, were baseball, basketball, and football. But I really do see track and field and volleyball and other sports that may not get as much coverage or in the past didn't are going to start, like you said, being on the rise and showing all this competitiveness and just the stiffness of it. So I really agree with that. And I can't wait to see it grow. What are top three goals that you have finishing up your next semester? Well, as you get to your next semester, by the time this comes out, it'll be January, I believe. So you'll already be in this semester. But what are some top three goals that you have to finish up your high school career, and then three more goals that you have going into your college career?
I would say win New Balance. That's a meet that's coming up. So win New Balance. Um, become a state champion, the one and the two, and then the relays and win state as a team. And then I would say to finish it off, just coming out the season healthy. That's the main thing for me. Finishing off healthy so I could go into my collegiate career healthy without injury. I would say for me, the workload might be an adjustment for me. Nutrition is going to be an adjustment. So just staying on top of those things. Um, Becoming a champion, even if that's freshman or sophomore year, but just developing into that athlete that I know that the coaches there will be able to develop me into. And then just having a great team, bond with the girls, and the boys, cross country, everybody, just having that team that will be there for me. So those are the main three goals for me.
Those are some really solid goals, and I believe you will meet every one of those and do really well, excel for sure. You have a really good head on your shoulders, and I think you have your eye on the prize. And so I know as long as you stay focused and keep your head up and learn through all your like life lessons that you've mentioned, you're gonna be just fine. Do you have any pregame rituals or music that you listen to kind of hype you up and get you ready for your race?
hmm I always listen to gospel music when I'm warming up. Sometimes a little hip hop rap. But the main song that I listen to is "You Will Win" by Jacqueline Carr. That's a song that stands out to me a lot. I let my parents listen to it when we were at Adidas, and they loved it. So it's something that I always listen to.
One?
Yeah, I listen to
Nice.
it more than once too. So,
Okay. And what's it called? I'm gonna make sure I add it to my playlist.
"You Will Win" by Jacqueline Carr.
Okay. I got you. I used to like her song Greater is Coming.
Yeah.
And there's another one she did. I think it's Keeping Ourselves. And I used to have her like little CD, and my parents gave me this boombox back when boomboxes were. I mean, they were kind of phased out at the time, but I thought it was pretty cool. So I had like a little CD, and I would keep playing it over and over again. So those were, yeah, I like Jacqueline Carr. She's really a really great anointed singer. Do you have playlists kind of section out by genre? And for your praise and worship playlist, do you have it section like subcategories for it, like hip hop, praise and worship, gospel? Like, how is it kind of set up for you?
I do a little bit, but for like track meets, I'll just have like a whole track playlist, so I don't have to keep going
Okay.
back and forth on my phone.
Yeah.
So I just keep that playlist going for the whole time I'm warming up and doing everything that I have to do to get ready for the race.
Nice. Are you a Spotify or Apple Music girl?
I'm really like Sometimes it'll be YouTube, sometimes it'll be an app
Okay,
called Music. It really depends, but Spotify, I used to use it a lot. Apple Music, I used to, but not really. It just depends.
I feel that. So we're down to the last question. What is one piece of advice that you would give an athlete who has been through or going to go through your journey, or something similar to your journey?
hmm I would say patience is key. Even if you think coaches aren't looking at you, even if you think you won't get looks at, they're looking at you, watching you. Just make sure when you're running in the summer, going into senior year, as a junior, just make sure that you run every race to the best of your ability. You know, try to PR, try to hit some times that will catch the coach's eye. Um, Even when it comes to a race that you might think is just not the biggest, you know, you might win the race. You're going in the race thinking you're gonna win it. Every race counts. So I would say that, and just having a good relationship and what you post on social media. Just make sure that anything that you post, just make sure mainly track, a little bit of outside of track, but just make sure everything is pretty.
Yeah, that's a good point. Patience definitely is something that I'm constantly working on. And then the social media thing is a really good point because I feel like people think that, oh, I'm just posting this, I'm just showing, I'm just being me, but not realizing that the digital footprint, especially in this era, is
hmm
crazy. People can
Yeah.
find out anything.
Yeah.
Like, this is you? You're like, wait a minute, that was like 5 years ago. So yeah, that's definitely something important. That is a good highlight that you mentioned. So good advice. Where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me Taylor Taylor dot Gullatte Gullatte on Instagram, and then that was the main platform that I use, Instagram. And then I have a Twitter, but I need to start getting active on there because I know some coaches are following me on there. So it's just
Okay.
T Gullatte 8, T and then Gullatte and then the number 8. So
Nice. Yeah, I love Twitter. I'm on there a lot.
yeah,
But that's so good. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you.
thank you so much for inviting me tonight. I had a great time.